Kevin's on the way. He'll be back. Thanks, everyone, for coming tonight. First order on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Everyone have that in front of them? Want to make any changes?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Next item is approval of the minutes. Any comments on the minutes?
I had one comment about, it's on page 2, and where it talks about the Hamptons opposed the short-term rental overlay. It's the Hampton property owners that oppose. I just want to make, I don't know if we need to make that change. Could we do that? Make sure it's it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th paragraph down that starts with Laura Bingham. And it's the property owners that oppose the short-term rental. That's all I had.
Any other corrections or additions? Motion to approve?
So move.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Swearing in of new members? Is that you?
We need to swear in new members and appoint chair, vice chair.
Correct.
So
You want to swear Greg in first?
that'd be fine. Sure. Greg, if you come down here, Kevin will have a form, and we'll give you a form to sign here in just a minute. Yes.
Repeat after me.
Okay.
I, Greg Bergstrom,
I, Greg Bergstrom,
do solemnly swear that I will support and maintain
do solemnly swear that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of North Carolina,
the Constitution and the laws of the State of North Carolina,
and the town of Blowing Rock,
and the town of Blowing Rock,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office to which I have been entrusted
of the office to which I have been entrusted
without fear or favor,
without fear or favor,
so help me God.
so help me God.
That's it.
Welcome. Thank you. For Greg's benefit, if you all just go around and introduce ourselves.
Joe Paddle. Tom Barrett.
Bill McCarter.
Cat Perry.
And Chris Squires.
Nice to meet you all. Next item is selection of a chair and vice chair. Are there any nominations for chair? Bill? Sorry, dude. Are there any other nominations? Please.
You're doing a good job.
Is there a motion to close the nominations?
Second.
All in favor for,
For you as chair.
for the nomination as presented?
In favor, you're in.
Yes.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next office is vice chair. Are there any nominations? Do we have, go ahead.
Vice Chair. I nominate Chris.
Who's
Chris
vice
Squires.
chair now? Harrison is vice now.
Nothing against Chris, but Harrison been with us longer.
That's fine.
Are there any other nominations? All right, all in favor of Harrison for vice chair?
Aye.
And any opposed? Do you want to stay on this? You want to keep your nomination? Just drop it on? Yeah.
We're just dropping.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you, Harrison, for agreeing to serve. First order of business is special use permit 2023-01. 151 Valley LLC and Fur is the applicant. Brian, you want to take us through that?
I'll lead us all. This is special use permit number 2023-01, 151 Valley LLC. Got a picture of the property on the screen. We can reference there. You can see my cursor. And for 151 Valley LLC is requesting a special use permit to redevelop and renovate this existing building and property. The applicant is seeking approval for retail, office, and other related similar uses, which the uses are laid out on page 2 of the staff report. And these are the uses that are listed for the general business in that zoning district of the land use ordinance. The existing structure facade will be renovated and repaired with minor changes. The bigger change in the property will be a new parking lot adjacent to the building. Let me pull that up for you. The existing building is to the right of the screen there. The new parking lot will be to the left adjacent to the building. They'll be looking at a new curb cut on Highway 321, as you can see. There's existing cuts there now, but those will not be utilized. This will be a new curb cut below the existing structure. The property contains 0.756 acres on general business. It is located within the WS4 watershed water supply. The site plan is a redevelopment of a former retail store that was in the existing building. This property was previously purchased by DOT through the road widening process, and then later was purchased by Ms. Ann Fur. The applicant is providing 24 parking spaces total, with one being a handicap accessible space as required. With this ratio, 24 spaces based on the building square footage will give her basically 152 square foot, one space per 152 square foot of gross floor area, which is more than adequate for the uses that's listed in the proposed uses in the staff report. The property will be providing new stormwater management for the project. The new parking lot will be photoed and captured in the two detention systems you see here. These are underground pipes, so they will not be seen. My understanding, the engineers here with questions later as well, but the property's fairly rocky on the back side, so they're building the front side up and utilizing the piping system for the detention there. And then we'll be, with an approach agreement, DOT will be tied into the system that's existing out on Highway 321 there. So they're capturing all the post-detention and runoff of the property. As far as landscaping, they are utilizing, there'll be a landscape plan up. There'll be a new landscape street guard out front here. There is some DOT easements currently in this area here, so there will be certain plant material that will be required out here, but they've met the ordinance requirements as well as here. And then there'll be some planting for the landscape here, the parking lot, and then on this side, they'll be utilizing existing vegetation and slope that's there for the buffering of those properties on that side. As far as the building, the building is not changing significantly. I do know this here on the top is not going to be proposed at this time. They have put a new roof on it recently, so that will not be done. Minor painting and repair to the building will be part of the project. As far as the inside, once a use is listed and gets someone for the building, then they'll come in for the building permits and we'll do an upfit for the interior of the project. Going back to page 2 of the staff report, this is the uses that Ann has requested to be considered tonight. All the uses are allowed in the general business, and I think that, the big question tonight is to make sure we feel comfortable with these uses for the property here, because my understanding, Ms. Furr has talked to several folks, but she don't have actually a tenant lined up to move in yet. She's got kind of a situation, she needs to get the property redeveloped and get it presentable, then it'll be a different look at the building, and then she can start looking at getting someone more interested. That's an overview. If you got any questions, be glad to answer any questions. And the applicant is here, as well as their engineer and her attorney, I think, for presentation or any questions they may have as well.
Ms. Furr?
Okay. Good afternoon, Chairman McCarter, Vice Chairman Herbst. I actually wrote that down, so I was a little nervous when y'all started. I was like, oh boy, I gotta change this. And the planning board. My name is Suzanne Todd. I'm a zoning attorney with Johnson Nelson Horton, Charlotte. My address is 1065 East Moorhead Street, Charlotte, 28204. With me tonight is Ms. Furr. She is the property owner in the name of 151 Valley LLC, which is the applicant here, as well as Michael Thews with Municipal Engineering, and he's here to answer all those questions about that parking lot that I absolutely can't. As staff has worked diligently on this and been extremely helpful, we really appreciate that. The only comments we have is that, 12 years ago, this property was a 2 to 3 bay retail stores, few spaces in it, retail, and had parking out front and was living its best life. And I do know this building because it had a Tanner outlet in it, and I used to shop there quite a bit. So I think my husband was pretty happy when DOT came through and removed all the front parking. And I do have some photographs of before, but as it's proceeded along, when it was, if you could just move the slide real quick. It's not that important, but
Hang on, I'll find it here.
yeah, the bottom line is that after the condemnations, after the taking, after 321 was put in, Gaulish remnant pieces, and the DOT managed to cobble a few of them together. And so Ms. Furr has taken a risk in buying the property, both the remaining retail store, as the building itself, as well as the parking, which is not going to be in front, which isn't ideal for all uses. It's going to be on the side. Looking at the property today, it was pretty impressive what's going to be involved in creating a parking lot on the property to the east of the building that's there now. It is a 3,600 square foot and some odd 50 square foot building. It's not going to change. They are upfitting it and renovating it, so that's good. And I know that since obviously Valley Boulevard is a gateway, that you want it looking good. But that's a very dark picture of what it looked like back in the day, and then as it progresses through, you can see, this is during the construction, the taking. This is what it kind of looked like afterwards. And that's another shot, what it looked like in 2020. And then in 2022, I think, you know, obviously the road has been put in. The inn at that time had put a new roof on the property. You can see where it is kind of tucked in there. You can see there's plenty of buffers surrounding properties. And you can see that that is the site. That's the way it looks as far as what she purchased. So it is a bit of a risky thing, but I'm so glad with the sidewalk that folks can walk from uptown and they could walk up there, and hopefully there is room for more and different uses that people can access. So that's really all we've got tonight. Again, all the uses that we are asking for are in fact general business zone uses. We're asking for different types of uses because these are different types of uses that you know, Ann has been approached as potential tenants. This will be most likely a multiple tenant site, so it needs to have that flexibility. So we would appreciate it if you would approve or recommend approval of this tonight. And as mentioned, the engineer is here as well as Ms. Spur if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks.
Do we need to indicate in here somewhere that it would be, the 1070 permit would be required, or it would require that allocation out of watershed?
All the watershed requirements have been met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it only applies to new development, I'm assuming. Otherwise, it'd be like 80-something%.
Mike's got the calculations on the front here.
Yeah, they broke out existing and proposed. So I'm thinking it only applies to the proposed.
It does, and they're well with under their built upon area there.
Brian, I have a question. From where the parking lot will be, I'm assuming there's going to be a sidewalk along the front so that people can get in those two doors. There are two doors that you access into the building from two doors.
Yeah, there's sidewalk all around the back. This is coming from the parking lot here, and then the sidewalk all down the front as well. That's this here.
Oh, the speckled part, okay, okay.
You see, the hatched, that's the sidewalk. This is a storm drain under it, tying in the gutters and drainage around the back, but that's sidewalk all around there. That'll be coming in from the parking lot.
And are there any doors in the back of the building?
I think there is, there's a couple of doors, I think they're kind of hard to see there, but looks like there's one right
Two.
there.
Ms. Carey, there's going to be 3 doors in the back and 3 in the front.
Okay, thank you.
So a possibility of 3 tenants?
Cannot say 100%, that's what was there before, but
Oh,
I think
okay.
it was.
Who's responsible for the existing curbing that's cut out for driveway now? Are we gonna build that back?
The applicant will be.
Okay.
These curbs, I'm assuming, will just remain. There was probably just some anticipated curb cuts when the project, DOT's project was done. But those will probably just remain as is,
Okay.
not disturb them.
Okay.
And then the new cut will be put in here. The applicant will be responsible for that.
Okay.
The only use that I had heartburn about was daycares. Is that something that you think could go there?
I apologize, which use was it?
Daycare?
I think what the vision is, or what the thought is, that, and both Ann and I have this in common, is that both of our mothers go to adult daycare. And that would be, sort of a great thing for socialization for elderly people, and that was the thought there.
Okay.
I don't think there's a thought preschool with,
Yeah.
kids coming in now.
Okay.
It's a bit sketchy on the highway.
That's right. And I think they would probably require some outdoor space also.
I think so too. It's probably not rock climbing. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to let y'all know that the parking that's there it come out to an average of one space per 152 square feet. Most of these uses are one space per 200 square feet, so they've got adequate parking. Their building size is going to limit a lot of the uses that can go in there. So I think whatever could even go in the building, the parking would be covered there. I think the square footage of the building will be the limiting factor of what kind of use can go in there.
Let me, if you don't mind, the question about adult daycare, that's not a list that I'm aware of that's not a use that's on the list. Because it's not allowed in general business. It's only allowed in HMC. So daycare is what is on the list. And that's a standard daycare, like for children. So, if that's not a list that you think should go forward, or a use that's on the list that should go forward, that needs to be addressed. But adult daycare is not allowed in that list.
Is it separated out in the ordinance?
Yes.
I apologize.
Yeah, facilities, they're designed to provide a continuum of care, including independent living, assisted living, CCRC, home health care, adult daycare. All those type of uses are only allowed in HMC zoning.
And that's set out, and then we missed that in the ordinance, I apologize, but that was the intention, was not for children.
Is it okay with the applicant if we strike nursery school and daycare?
That's okay with you.
Yeah.
If not,
Because it isn't all in just adult daycare and something we've already done.
No, adult daycare is not allowed in general business. Only one zoning district, and that's the HMC, which is for the assisted, Foley Center, the Liberty. I'm not sure. I think it's still called Foley Center. They're out 321 toward Boone.
so this is not the intention was not for assisted living or permanent residence. It's that you basically drop your parent off in the morning and then pick them up in the afternoon.
The only, we have a list, use 1.450, that is includes adult daycare.
Okay.
And that's the only place.
Yeah. I'd like to make that a condition.
Any other questions for staff or applicant?
I have a question about the storage and parking use. I just don't understand if you could kind of explain what that would be.
Well, Per the ordinance, the idea there is some sort of if someone were, let's say, pest control or HVAC, a contractor who's using the building maybe for office or, and then has their storage vehicles and maybe some equipment out, in the parking lot. Obviously, any of those uses would have to comply with screening provisions and any other requirements, but that's really the idea, that they're vehicles.
Thank you.
Yeah, or, and one of the uses that was there before was a sort of an antique store, and if there are delivery trucks for the antique stores, something like that is what being mentioned.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, we did have 2 calls from adjoining neighbors, and I'm not sure if any of them are here or not. As can see, I'm not sure.
Any comments from the audience? Anybody want to chime in? Okay.
The one call we received from one folk was concerned of the manufactured use. I guess as a whole. The other neighbor was in favor of whatever happens there. They wanted to see it redeveloped.
Can you talk to us about that manufacturing category and what we might could expect there?
You can come up.
Well, number one, manufacturing always connotates some sort of a nefarious smokestack kind of use, and you've already negated any of that in your ordinance under, I think it's 10 point, Brian should know, section 1610.9, where it basically says, any type of manufacturing, it can't create vibrations, it can't noise, it cannot have no odor, outside of the building, things like that. And the reason we are requesting that is because we're not 100% sure what that definition is of the manufacturing, but one of the potential tenants that have come to Ms. Furr is, for instance, the High Country Press, which would be a great use. Now, they do most of their business, their daily press online, but they also publish and print these seasonal sort of visitors guides, as well as sort of a monthly or I think it's a quarterly sort of little magazine. And depending on the machinery that is involved, does that rise to the level of manufacturing? But we wanted to make sure we were covered just in case. Of course, you have those parameters. And another thing would be if, maybe somebody doing cabinetry work that's making cabinets in the back of and there's a shop in the front, does that rise to the level of manufacturing? Those types of questions is what we had. But again, that would be also maybe a conversation at that time when that specific tenant, as far as whether that's actually manufacturing or it's something else. But we wanted to have that opportunity, and all, pottery, if there's a repetition of things being made, that might be something that rose to that level. So we wanted to make sure we had that covered because, honestly, the press would be a great use of that space. Thank you.
I think staff's concern with manufacturing is having to use to compare exactly what that manufacturing is going to be or what the process is. There is supplemental standards in 1610 that they do have to meet as far as any manufacturing process and type of uses. But it is hard for staff to know exactly what that manufacturing process would be till we know what this specific use is. So, you know, staff does feel that's a little broad there, but, you know, there could be some uses that, you know, may not be considered manufacturing depending on what's being made or what's being processed. It's kind of a call that has to be made as you know the use.
But an example like cabinet manufacturing, which may have been in that building at one time, I mean, would that, like cabinet sales and manufacturing, would that fit into today what you consider manufacturing?
I think there's a fine line of what would be manufacturing. I mean, I think if someone's back there fixing cabinets, reselling them, you know, it may be more of a retail use compared to a full-fledged manufacturing building cabinets. So this is something I think you gotta weigh out a little bit on the specific use. You know, a lot different if it was a big brewery type uses or, you know, different manufacturing type uses there. You know, some of those may fall into a retail category, depending on what their business is.
I think brewery would have an odor that would probably exceed. You know, we had
It could. If you do look at the use of 4.10, I mean, all the operations are entirely within the building.
I have a question. So the building is 3,600,
42 square feet.
okay, square feet, and 3 tenants. Are each of those spaces pretty much the same, equal in square footage?
Yes, broke down. I think it was around, I'm not a math major here, but
12.
yeah, like 1,200. You know, one was like maybe 1,200 and something square feet, and the second one, I think maybe one was up to 17. I've got it on my phone. But yes, they were not absolutely evenly divided, but pretty close. And I was trying to remember how big the Tanner store was, and I just could not visualize, you know, really how big it was.
Yeah.
But that would be the ideal situation for 3 tenants, that it'd be relatively evenly spaced.
Right, so the spaces aren't that big. I mean, you'd be limited to manufacturing, you know?
I think the size of the building would limit what would potentially go in there, sure.
And that's just the rub here, that it really is, you know, obviously it can't be a brewery. You know, there are certain things it really can't be. And so I think that's really the limitation, that the building itself is not going to support anything of significance.
You're providing recommendation. I mean, this approval is going to be based on the parking lot and the amount of spaces you see. It's going to be based on square footage of the existing buildings there. So that won't change. If a use comes through that may necessitate something different, then obviously that we'd have to look at that, or it'd have to come back for a different look. But square footage would dictate a lot of the uses.
You make a good point, Mr.
Any comments about the list? Anything you want to remove? Other than applicants already removed daycare. Something, anything you think would not be appropriate?
I think it's a good list.
I think the size of the square footage, the space is going to extremely limit anything that's done there.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
I think as long, just encourage you to be comfortable with the uses. Is there any conditions you want on the uses that you feel would need to be there? Noises?
Are they gonna be held to the 3 spots, or can it be broken down into one whole building?
The space, the different spaces wouldn't be the issue. It'd be the use that's in there. I mean, there's multiple uses could be allowed. Still be based on the parking, which I think they've got plenty of parking. So they could have multiple tenants. That's not an issue.
Or could they just have one?
They could have
whole
one,
space?
yeah. Now, if you've got if you get down into the storage and parking and say she would like to have a parking lot for rent, spaces for rent, I mean, that would more than likely be your primary use. It would limit what could be in the building. I mean, it'd all be based on the amount of parking for each use there. So that would have to be determined with multiple uses. So there's some unknowns there, not knowing exactly what would be in that storage and parking uses there, but.
So that 10.1, that's what that is renting parking spaces.
Parking garages, I mean, I think what you're approving here is not gonna be a parking garage.
That's right.
But it could be a parking lot with spaces for rent. That would be the principal use. So with that being the principal use, then you would have no parking for
That kills the use of the
use of the
building.
building. So that's somewhat of an unknown there with that use.
Yeah.
What about trash? If there's a community dumpster, say, we're talking about 3 units. Is there room with the parking in there, keep their parking and have a dumpster, say, covered in wall? Nobody say anything about trash. It's gonna be trash.
You talking about for the use or trash as a use?
Whatever you do, there's always trash.
Well, they've got the rollouts here for the tenants.
Rollouts right there.
Those are for the units.
Just rollouts,
Yeah,
no dumpster involved.
just the rollouts.
Chairman McCarter, Ms. Grove did ask me when if the High Country Press were to be the tenant, that they would want 2 or more, they may want the whole building. But again, the limitation is it's a small building, smaller really than, like a size of a house.
Printing's not identified separately in
What is?
the list of printing? That's not identified separately in the list? Okay, good. So that is an option.
Yeah, I
in the
think
list
that would be a
they presented.
determination of the use with, being this, what is printing, how, what's the process of the printing? It's kind of broad there to not know.
Yeah.
I just had one question. If you're looking at 3 retail uses potentially, what kind of signage, or what kind of signage would they be allowed?
They would have to meet the requirements of our sign ordinance. We do have a sign ordinance, and there's certain sizes and a certain amount based on how many tenants is in there. So I mean, that would be a separate permitting process through our office.
But you're not talking anything on
No, there's-
billboard style signage?
The general business has standards set out on size and numbers and the types of signs there, so it would have to fit within that. It'd be consistent with what you see up 321 now.
So if I remember right, that goes on road frontage. And if there was 3 units, that road frontage, say it allowed 45 square feet, goes to the road frontage. Each business would have 15 square feet.
Yeah, typically they're allowed, each tenant would be allowed a sign. There would be allowed either a freestanding or a ground mounted sign out there that they could put all tenants on. It would be size limited. There is some limitations on, well, I shouldn't say limitations, maybe some exceptions on 35-mile-an-hour roadways and 45. You can increase on 45, but obviously that would be based on the 35 there. Wall signs, that would be on the building, those are based on the building square footage, excuse me, the linear footage of the facade of the building. So you're not gonna see an excessive amount size-wise of signage out there.
Any other comments? Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve it.
Motion to approve, there's a second.
I'll second it. I'm good with it.
Can we clarify the motion that it excludes the use 22.000, the nursery, schools, daycare centers?
Okay.
The only other staff comment I would make would be on the veterinarian use. Just be conscious of noise.
No, good point.
Good one.
Anyone interested in striking that one?
I'd leave it, I'd leave it in, but.
Leave it in?
Yeah.
How are you gonna mitigate the noise from outdoor kennels?
Well, I think a
That's something
kennel is
you-
different than a vet, right?
Well,
Rocks
most of them
all
board.
behind it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I would think that the veterinarian would need some sort of outdoor anyway, so I don't think that's probably gonna happen, but
We do have two separate uses. One's a veterinarian and one is a kennel itself.
Right.
Obviously, kennel can be indoor, outdoor. Veterinarian, you can look at it as an office type of use. Don't know if maybe overnight dog stay. I think just keep in mind of walking dogs outside, people being outside. I don't know if you can hear them outside or not. That's why I'm just bringing, maybe the noise issue there.
They're not asking for a kennel. I mean,
They're not asking for kennel.
yeah, that's a separate kind of use. Yeah, I mean,
I'm okay leaving veterinarian. I
Okay.
don't think it's gonna make any more noise than 21.
True.
That's a good point.
So to restate the motion to approve striking 22.00 as a use and leaving the other staff comments as presented. All in favor?
all right.
Any opposed? So moved. Next item is establishment of a comprehensive plan subcommittee. And you have a memo in your packet about that. Council would like 4 representatives from the planning board to serve on this steering committee.
And you would like to be as well.
Kat, Chris,
I'd like to be involved in that. I can't.
Tom? I'll be number 4. All right, so we got Kat, Chris, Tom, and myself. You got that? And do you want to say anything about the contract being awarded and kind of what their schedule is?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Tuesday night, the council approved a contract with Benchmark Planning. Benchmark, if you recall, did our 2014 update and also consulted with us and rewrote our sign ordinance in 2018, and then assisted with the 321 visioning study in 2019. The outline is the initiation this month process, comprehensive plan. Background research in March and April, initial public input in May, preparation of a draft plan in June through September, additional public input in September and October, and preparation and presentation of the final plan in months November through January of next year. So with the subcommittee we put together here and 2 members of council, and we're looking to add a couple of at-large members of the community, we will start. Our first steps are to meet with the consultant, with Jason and Vaughn and their team as a staff level, and just kind of evaluate where we are, what our big needs are from a staff perspective. And we may consider looping this thing we're doing with downtown into the discussion and process. I didn't think that we needed to do that, but now the more you think on something, it may be a good opportunity to bring them in. Brian pulled up some stuff the other day of some graphics that might help us moving forward with our downtown discussion, and some graphics that will help someone coming in. On this street, this is what we're expecting from a bird's eye view, and then from facades and materials. So it's not a done deal, but it may be a good opportunity and to kind of collaborate with both groups, or to move forward in that way. And then looking at broad picture, what are the needs of the community? What are the things, policy decisions that we want to make in the next 10 years, as things are changing dramatically from what they were in 2012 and 13 and 14. If I think back, the one that was done in 2004, we did it in-house. And it was about the time that I came on board, and they had started the process, and then it kind of sat for a while until, because it was done by the planning board and done in-house, it took a little longer. It took a little longer to stay on task and to be committed to getting the work done. So bringing a consultant along for a community like this is really good. And we saw that in 2013. And I think it'll be a good process. It'll be good for all of us. So Chris, Kat, Tom, Bill. Perfect. That's great. I will say, some of you may have received the water bills and seen the disclaimer note in there. I want you to send some information. I've received 4 comments so far, and I'm putting those into a separate file. And some are concerned that I would be sharing their names. I said, well, it's public, but that's not my drive. I'm trying to just capture the comments and put them all together so our subcommittee can kind of get a snapshot of what people think that they don't like as much about downtown. And so I think that'll help us too. Any questions? Okay. I think that's all we had on the agenda. I'd be glad to give you an update on projects.
One that we were all talking about before, while we were in here, is the 2 out on Sunset, the Old Scotchman and the coffee shop.
Well,
Are those permits not going to expire? If they don't do something?
No, so the Old Scotchman, Green Construction is going to do the work. They're ready to go. Once they start, they don't want to pull off. They're going to demo the building, and they don't want to do that and then pull off. So they're trying to finish up some other jobs before they start that. So when they start demo, they're going to continue on and finish the project. The coffee shop, the owner may be looking at some other options. That's all I can say.
Well, hate that.
Maybe not there, maybe somewhere else.
So they are gonna they're gonna destroy the Old Scotchman?
Yes, it was more costly to try to renovate that structure and end up with a worse project, but just
A Band-Aid.
just trying to fix the problems that they have, and so they redesigned, and actually, I believe, a better product in the end from what they're going to do. They had a lot of rot and issues in the back. And sometimes you're just better start over. So there's nothing in application phase at this point with anything else that I know of. But we've had a lot of discussions on some potential projects coming forward.
I heard that the old Moody's building has it been sold? An offer was
I
made?
believe it's under contract.
Okay.
And the potential buyer is considering a lot of different options.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Thanks.
Thanks for coming. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.